Hi everyone, welcome to episode 114. Wow. That's a lot of episodes. Anywho, welcome to episode 114 of the Carnivore Podcast. If you're a new viewer, thank you for checking me out. If you're an old viewer, thanks for coming back. I never do that at the beginning of the podcast. I may never do it again, but I tried. So, it's been a long week. Been a long week in Sadieville. And I think it's because of the weather. We are not getting the horrible weather everyone else is getting, but we're getting a lot of thunderstorms, which means Bebop has been a shaking, panting mess. Might get him a thunder shirt. I don't know if it'd work, but I might. I don't know. Anywho, that's been the greater portion of my week, really. It's been up with Bebop a lot of the time. And I love my puppy. I do. It's just a complete chicken shit. There's my explicit tag. Finished objects, I got squat. I'm not even I'd nada. I had hoped to get further along than I am, but so be it. I have worked on more things, and I have worked a lot on more things, so that's a good thing. Can I say thing one more time? There, I just did. It was basically, there was a lot of sitting around knitting going on this week, and I'm not exactly sure that's a good thing, but whatever. Whatever. We came here for knitting and spinning and yarn and woo. And I got all the woo you can handle. It's very, apparently I'm Little Richard now. So, the first thing that got a lot of work in the Decor Noir bag that I still haven't augmented, because yeah. On the list of things to get done, that is not it doesn't even make the cut of the Post-it note. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Because I still have to sew the bag for my Queen Bee to take to SSK, and I have to do a million other things before I can go to Chicago. You know how it goes. And thank you to all my plurkies and everyone else who suggested going to Loopy Yarn and Windy Nitty. I will be going to those places. Because I can. They're not that far, actually. I think I can just take public transit, which is nice. It'll be my first time in Chicago. I'm looking forward to the Chicago experience. So my first work in progress, which saw a fair amount of work well, I'm not sure if you can tell it's a fair amount of work, but there's about another inch and a half on these babies. It's the Georgia on My Mind socks by Leslie, who is also pro-Knitscuous and one of the knit girls, whatever. It is a free pattern. It is still working lovely with the yarn. I am knitting it on, these ones have it on it, US 1 2.25 Chiagus. Still not 100% sold on the Chiagu, but we'll get into this later. Steven, I love you. I don't even care that you didn't get the geeky references. I love that you love the color. And yes, my leg is probably going to fall asleep halfway through the recording, and I'm going to have to shimmy, and it might shake the computer. Shout out to Mr. Dramatic. So, basically, Monday I had to go and get my military ID. I have military ID. How crazy is that? And that took for friggin' ever. Or no, it was Tuesday, because I had to rush home for the update. Tuesday we went and got my military ID. And that took us basically from, we left the house at 8:30 and I got back at 11:45. I have military ID. That's the important part. But as I was sitting there for an indiscriminate amount of time, I was knitting on these. So I know I got at least another inch done. I am probably going to go 7.5 before I do the heel flap. I love the fact that there's just this little bit of seed stitch. Just enough to keep me not wanting to gouge my eyes out And I'm boring enough so that if it's 8:30 in the morning, you don't really have to think. And it's doing its own little pooling, swirling, patterning thing. This is the Shapoval Undertas, I think. Undertas. In flying saucers, and basically it's a little disc and you roll off 2 different balls. So this is the second ball for the second sock, which I actually caked. I did not cake the first ball, which is the one I'm knitting off of. But it's so you can have matching sock pooling. It's okay. It's not my favorite yarn in the world, but these things will wear like the dickens. It's kind of, I think it's an opal base. It's very similar to the opal in its softness quotient, so it's going to be a hard wearing sock. It's not necessarily going to be like luxurious, which is fine by me. Lord knows I'm hard enough on my socks. So that got some work. The other thing that got some work, which you haven't seen in a while, see, I'm pulling out old things. I have finishitis. I don't know where it came from. I'm not questioning anything. I am riding this wave until I conk out, because I don't want to cast on anything until I finish things, and I really want to finish things. So I'm riding that wave. I'm riding it hard. Finish things, because then I'll feel better. Because I had a moment of overwhelm, where I was personally overwhelmed by how many things I had on the needles, and I was like, sorry, I'm still phlegmy. There's like 80,000 things in bloom, and the rain and the thunder and stuff has kicked up all kinds of stuff, so I'm a little phlegmy. I have the coffee. And anyone who gets annoyed at people drinking on podcasts has given up on me long ago. So, anywho, finishitis, pulling out old projects left, right, center. This does not include the Blanket of Doom, which will eventually get pulled out again. I really have to finish that damn thing. But when it went in timeout because it needed to be unpicked and knit more and then resewn, that killed me off. So it's still in timeout. Maybe I'll get it finished before the end of this year. That's my goal, end of the year. Although if I finish it during Stash Dash, can you imagine? I could do Stash Dash just based off that blanket. Probably. I'm not doing Stash Dash. I love the Knit Girls. Well, yeah, I love the Knit Girls. But that's just too much commitment right now. I got commitment issues, and I don't want to have to do math, and then there's too much going on. So as you can see, there's a plain needle attached to this bag. And in this bag, there's the twisted flower socks. And you're like, why is there a plain needle just with nothing on it? Well, it's because I haven't cast on the second sock. I finished the first one. I finished it. Woo. Toe. Cuff. Heel. I did not put the pattern on the heel as it suggests. When things have pattern on the heel, they tend to wear out really fast for me because I'm really rough on my heels. So, yeah, no. I gave up and did the classic patterning on the heel, but I have finished a sock. A single sock. And quite frankly, a single sock that is the Twisted Flower Sock by Cookie A on US 1 2.25mm needles, I believe. I believe. Yes. Well, that's in and of itself a reason to squee. I just have to cast the second one on and get it done. Probably cast it on this weekend. Once you get into the pattern, it gets very intuitive, and it's not as hard as it looks. But until you get into the pattern, it's kind of like, oh god. Oh my. What am I doing? I'm hooped. I thought I was hooped pretty much until I finished the first pattern, and then I was like, this isn't so bad, and then it moved, and I was like, oh no, it moved! Because Cookie A is crazy, and I love her, but... So, first sock is done. This is out of the Dream in Color sock with the cashmere. It's Dream in Color with the cashmere and the sock. It's in the project. I'll link it. Whatever. This thing's been on the needle since March. It's time to get them done. I'd like to see it done before SSK. Don't quote me on that. Something is beeping. I have no idea what. So the third thing, here, I'll show you. I'll show it to you because I remember I didn't show it to you last time, and quite frankly, not even going to lie to you, right now it looks kind of like, what is this? And I'm having issues with the whole what is this-ness of it, but I'm trusting the designer based off of comments, and I'm hoping that I'm doing this right. But I'm doing the Harvest Moon by Heidi Kermer. It is just top down with some really interesting construction. Cardigan. I'm doing it out of Barocco Lustra in 2 different colorways. They both have numbers, so it doesn't really matter. Now, last time you saw it, I had just separated for the sleeves. So there's a sleeve hole. Now, you see this weird thing going down here? This is apparently a pocket. I'm trusting the designer because apparently this is a pocket. And I am knitting on the body. I'm getting somewhere. And you have to, like, leave the ball of yarn attached to the pocket, so I've got like 2 working it's getting confusing. But so I have the sleeves on their holders. I am working down the body. I have another 16 rows of body before I attach the, and I only have 1 pocket because apparently the second pocket is done after I do some of the body, but this little, it's like it's got a weird limb, maybe a tentacle or something coming out. I don't know, but either way, that's going to be a pocket. I don't know. I'm hoping and I'm praying. But basically, I have 16 rows left of the body. Then I do the other pocket, and then I can go on to sleeves. And I'm really looking forward to hitting the sleeves. And yeah. I still have quite a decent amount of yarn. I'm hoping that the last of the body takes this. If the last of the body takes this, I have a skein for each of the arms, plus I have enough purple. I'm doing the trim of the pocket in purple. So, but those are knit separately and then added on. It's, I think, a $6 pattern, but it's a great pattern. It has a lot of sizes. You just have to really trust the designer throughout the entire, it's like a baby surprise jacket. When you're knitting the Elizabeth Zimmerman baby surprise jacket and it looks kind of like a dying manta ray, and you're like, how is this ever even gonna work, until you cast off, and then you're like, aha moment, oh my god, it works! Yes. I think that's what's gonna happen with this, so I'm really just trusting the designer. And reminding myself that everything is in centimeters and not inches. I'm Americanized. So those are my 3 things that are on the needles. I have no spinning. And there's a rationale for it now, because next weekend, Tour de Fleece. And I am Tour de Fleecing. I may join some more groups. I'm in 1 group. It's the 13 pounds in 2013. That's the only group I'm in. I don't know who else's group I'll join. I don't know if I'll join another group or if I'll just spin independent. Hard to say. But I will be spinning. I will be spinning every day. I will be driving myself insane. But I am basically, I didn't want to put something on the wheel and have it half done at the beginning of Tour de Fleece, because then it wouldn't count and that would bug me, because it would be like losing time. So, yeah. Not going to start to spin until the weekend. And then it's on like Donkey Kong. I've watched too much Duck Dynasty. Sorry. Miscellaneous. You have 1 more week to chime in on the Sam versus Frodo for our starting of July 1st. We're going to be knitting a Sam or Frodo. Next Saturday is the 30th, so I will be closing the thread on the 29th/30th, sometime between midnight and the morning. And then I will be drawing 1 random person. I will be tallying the votes to see if Sam or Frodo won, and then 1 lucky person will get the pattern gifted to them, so they can come join the knit along. And you should be posting all of your Lord of the Rings socks in the Lord of the Rings sock knit along thread, because it doesn't matter which pattern it is, as long as it's knit with, as long as it's knit from the book and you finished it during the time frame of us knitting the book. So if you finish a Pippin tomorrow, you can still put the picture in the thread. But basically, once we finish Sam and Frodo, I'm going to have a few prizes. They're probably going to be stripy sock yarn. Just saying. Stripy socks. And I'm going to draw a few winners, maybe one or two from it, because quite frankly, if you knit any of the Claire Ellen Lord of the Rings socks, you deserve an easy sock afterwards. Trust me on this. I've knit almost all of them. I will have knit all of them in the Fellowship of the Sock, and I can say you deserve a stripy sock at the end. So that's what's going to happen after we finish either Sam or Frodo. So we'll have Sam or Frodo for July, August. So for September, October, we'll do the other one, and at the beginning of November, I will draw 2 winners for stripy sock yarn from the thread, and it has to be a finished picture of a pair of socks. Stick it in the group. Just go in the group. You have to be a member of the group. There is no non-member winning. That's my one caveat, but that's not really a caveat, so whatever. Yesterday I went out shopping, and I actually put everything in my Yarnivore bag because I self-promote no matter where I go. Went to Stephen B., which is a local yarny place, and I picked me up some... Hold on. There we go. I picked up some Madeline Tosh in the Stargazing colorway. It's Tosh DK. Come on, color. Come on, color. There we go. I know it's really hard to see back here, but this is really true to the color. It is huntery greens and vibrant royal blues and purples. And you may say, Sadie, why did you buy a single skein of Tosh DK? Well, I got a text from my bridesmaid Lily, best friend, whatever, who I am meeting up with in Chicago with her sister Kate. And Kate's like a little sister. She's like my little sister because I've known her and her sister for so long. And Lily had gotten a text from Kate that asked her to peer pressure me into making her a beret. Which I laughed at maniacally, of course, because Lily's about as big as a minute, and I'm huge. So, and I'm averse to peer pressure. So between the two things, it was just hysterical. And I was like, all Kate has to do is ask nicely. And so, she did, in a roundabout way. And I said, well, what style do you want? And she was like, well, I like berets, but a beanie will work, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what color? And she said, forest green, royal blue, stuff like that, or cream, or black. Well, I'm not knitting in cream or black. I love Kate, not happening. And so I went and I found a pattern that I really liked, which is the Porum Slouchy Hat by Jared Flood. And I thought it would look gorgeous on Kate, so that is a hat I will be knitting. And then I needed to get the yarn, and it calls for a DK, so I picked up the Tosh. So I will be knitting the Porum for Kate out of this, and I have to have it finished by July 9th, which is not a big deal, but I'm not casting it on until something's finished. Or the body of the sweater. See, if I get to the sleeves, then I can kind of I finished the body. That's like the big mo. But I don't know. Either that or it'll be like July 6th, then I'll cast it on just to make sure it's done. And then while I was there, I was like, well, I could use some needles. You know, I'm from Canada. We don't get a lot of good needles in the middle of Saskatchewan. Like, in the middle of Saskatchewan, you cannot find a good needle to save it. You're getting Inox, you're ordering knit picks, you can get Knitter's Pride in, like, one store. It's not, there isn't, like, a whole spectrum. The two stores started carrying things just as I was leaving, and I had no money for that kind of stuff. So I got myself a Haya, which I needed for magic looping. It's a 40-inch 2.25 because that's my standard use. I'm a bit of a looser knitter, I think. I think because the 2.25 and the 64 stitch fits my fat foot, and I know it shouldn't. So, there you have it. And since I heard such a glowing review of these, I've heard a couple glowing reviews of these, the Addy Turbo Sock Rockets. I picked up, again, a 2.25 US 40, because I really want to try them, and let's face it, I knit enough socks at this point that getting a good quality sock needle, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's all printed on the cable, which I like. I'm not sure how fast that'll wear off, but I like the fact that it's all printed on the cable. And I like the fact that it's German, because let's face it, I love all things German. I'm a German. You know, some people, they have that one place that they're addicted to. Usually it's like Scotland or Europe, because they like read too many bodice rippers and want men in kilts running around. No, I'm a German girl. Seriously. Eventually I have to go to Berlin, and they'll have to evict me clawing and screaming. Just saying. And then I picked up a Carbons Knitter's Pride US 4 3.5, which is $15. So now I know that Diane doesn't like it because of the join, and I'm looking at the join, and the join looks a little. I'm not 100% sold on the join, but I figured I need to try these, because what if these are like the next best thing for me? Because I generally don't fall into the bracket of everyone else anyway. Hi-Hias so far are my favorite. I haven't tried a Hi-Hi Sharp. They didn't have Hi-Hi Sharps there. I may have to try some Sharps, but I like Hi-Hias on a whole, like just the brand itself. So this is my first Knitter's Pride, and I went with the Carbons. And that is to knit the Litmus shawl, which I have to... Okay, there's a little technical issue. I'm having all kinds of technical issues. The apartment is weird. It is weird because there are three plugins in this room. There's no overhead light. 2 of the plugins are connected. Actually, no. 1 of the plugins connected to, no, 2, possibly 3, maybe all 3. No, not all 3, because that one stays on no matter what. Anywho, some of them are connected to a light switch and some aren't. And, yeah. When it's bright in this room, you don't think to turn on the light. Yeah. Anywho, welcome back. Welcome back. You didn't go anywhere. I did. Okay, so I was talking about the Carbons. I got the Carbons to do the Litmus shawl by, again, Leslie, because apparently I'm on a Love Leslie kick. For the SSK, and I don't know when I have until. I better look, because this may hurt my finishitis if I need to have that done. Unless it runs to like SSK, in which case I'm good. If it's till the end of June, I may have to give up on that goal and just suck it up. But new needles, awesome. And yes, I did just wash my hair right before we started recording. It's all wet. And you'll be happy to know my burn is doing better. It's like, you can see, it's flaking off. We're good. We're good. So, what else do I have written down here? Shop update. I bet you're wondering what's going to be in the shop on Tuesday. Tuesday at 1. Now, in July, the shop updates are going to change. My recording schedule is going to change because I've gone so much, and I do want to rejig when the shop updates for people. But this week, get ready to squeeze your little heart out. Gilmore-ish. That's right, Gilmore-ish. If you're a big fan of the Gilmore Girls and you spin, this week's update, all for you, baby. I have taken, I'm just going to close this because I'm a big Gilmore Girls fan. I can basically recite the entirety of 7 seasons verbatim, although I don't acknowledge season 7 because the Palandinos didn't write it, and I find the writing style to be far superior to what was left behind. It just became too obtuse, or not obtuse, but overt. The exact opposite. It became too overt. Like, the pop culture references were just not as subtle and, you know, wonderful. So yeah, did not like season 7. Having said that, I loved everything else. Although, when she hooked up again with Dean for the second time, I was like, oh no. Oh no, oh no. And then when she saw Jess, when he had like reformed when they were with Luke's kid, oh my god. I wanted her to hook up with him again. I just wanted her to run away with Jess. Quite frankly, when he was a little butthead, but he changed, and I was just, he was hotter, right? Like, and I hated Logan. I hated him right from the get-go. I liked his friend Finn. His friend Finn was ridiculous and drunk and stupid, and I think that Finn was a good foil for Logan. Did not like Logan at all. Having said that, now that we've gotten into my little Gilmore thing, we have a couple colorways. Some are not dry. I will show you the 2 that are not dry first, because they have to go back on the dryer. This one, this is in the Romney base. It'll be in a Romney. I have Romney, Biffle, Romney BFL, Merino, Portuguese Merino, and Falkland. Those are the four or five different kinds of fiber that'll be in the shop this coming week. So this is I'm Smad. I'm sad and mad. I'm smad. Smad. So it is shades, and I have to pull it back here, don't I? That's true to color. Of course, do check on the shop. The colors show up better on the shop because I actually take time to have them photographed properly. Whereas here, I've got like way too much overexposure and whatnot. But Smad is awesome. It is shades of a royal purple, a very berryish color of pink. It's got little hints of white, of course. And it's exactly what you'd be expecting if you were sad and mad at the same time. It's got a little hint of gray. It's actually purpley gray. I'm not sure if that's picking up. But, yay. And I do have, this is the first time I've carried Romney, so this should be interesting. Romney is an excellent price point, but the thing about Romney is that's what I learned to spin on, and I find that I enjoy going back to it for hats and mittens and outerwear. It would be really a good one for socks. It's not next to the skin soft, but it's not a long wool scratchy. Again, I learned to spin on it. It's got a lot of grab. You can get a lot accomplished with it. So if you wanted to make a fine yarn to knit and a good exterior hat, it'd be awesome. I'm a big proponent of the ROM. I love the ROM. Seriously, that was all you could get in Regina at the one store. For the longest time, all you could get was Romney or natural alpaca. So I spun a lot of Romney when I started. This has, of course, not dried, so it's not poofed. It isn't poofed yet. It poofs when it dries, so that's... the pink is showing up like electric, and it's not. It's more of a berry. And this is Falkland. This is Falkland, so you know it's gonna poof. This is Razquat. I debated calling it Cumberry, but Razquat, I was sticking true with the actual quote. And as you may recall, Jackson is the farmer. Well, not the farmer. He's the produce man who gets married to Suki. And at one point, he tries to make a hybrid fruit, and it is the Razquat. And there's a very long interlude. Basically, he comes in, and he makes Suki close her eyes and stick something in her mouth, to which Lorelai responds, "Oh, dirty." And Suki can't figure out what kind of fruit it is. And she says it tastes like a berry, and he says, yeah, and what? And the whole kumquat thing comes out. And then we flip to Lorelai, who's having a discussion with someone else, and they turn back to Suki and Jackson, and she goes, Razquat? And it's just the funniest thing in the world. So I had to do a Razquat colorway. So it is shades of purple, and of course the kumquatiness, and the berries. It's a very berry pink. If I hold it back here, that pink is just way too pink. It's not that pink. Check the shop. I will get perfect pictures of it. So that is Razquat. I have to figure out, let's see. That one is that one is that. Okay, what are you? I know you are something. Are you? Okay, I'm coming back to that one because the entire update is Gilmore Girls because there is enough. Seriously, you can go with that. This is Don't Eat the Urine Mints. So of course you've got minty green, the red of the mint. You've got the white of the red and white mint. Hints of blue, and of course, it's just gorgeous. This is in the Romney base again, but it'll be in a couple different bases. If you recall, Don't Eat the Urine Mints, Lorelai and Luke have finally hooked up. Finally. And they are watching a movie. And Luke is relatively indifferent, but at least he's there, and being Luke, and there isn't a woman alive who doesn't love Luke. And Rory's out on a date with a guy that her grandma set her up with, and she doesn't know what to do, and he keeps switching sides, so they're on the same side, and it's very uncomfortable for her. And Luke, his great advice is don't eat the urine mints. So don't eat the urine mints. Lorelai passes this on, and Rory tells this factoid about urine mints to the guy. It's a very awkward date. It's horrible. She ends up getting stranded, and then Dean saves her, and I hate how Dean saves. I hate Dean. I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't like him from the get-go. I didn't. I was not a Dean person, and you can tell that by looking at me. Clearly, I was into Jess. This is It's a Sexy Squash, and this one's on Merino. It's got all those gorgeous colors of squash. So we've got the pumpkin-y squash. We've got the greens and the yellows and just the gorgeous greens of like the various acorn, butternut, patty pan, pumpkin, spaghetti, all the squashes. And this is from the episode where the fruit seller guy brings in his fruit stand and Taylor tries to get him evicted. And my favorite character, my favorite side character, like, you know, like you have your favorite between Lorelai and Rory and Lane and Suki. You'll have your favorite of those four. But then you've got the side characters, which, you know, Miss Patty, Babette, Kirk, etc. My favorite is my favorite is Babette. Miss Babette. Babette, she's friggin' crazy. She talks to her gnomes talk to her apparently, and she takes her cat on walks. So she goes and purchases from this fruit man a squash, and she is explaining the wondrousness of this fruit to someone else. I think it's Taylor, I'm not sure, or maybe it's Lorelai, or maybe it's Suki. She's explaining it to someone, and she goes, "This is a squash. It's a sexy squash." So this is Sexy Squash. It's a sexy squash. Sexy. It's a sexy squash. Or maybe she says that at the town meeting. I'll have to rewatch the episode. But either way, sexy squash always stuck in my mind, and now it's a colorway. Oh, that's what this one is. Okay. This is Copper Boom. Which is an inside joke between Rory and Lorelai. So it's Copper Boom, which is this shaded red, various shades of brown, some yellows. It's basically like a copper plus an explosion. Copper Boom. Inside joke. And lastly but not leastly, actually the one that everyone is expecting, which will be in every base I've mentioned, Oi with the Poodles. Oi with the Poodles is the most ubiquitous of Gilmore Girlisms. It's the biggest, it's the most fancy quote. It's the quote everybody knows. Everybody knows Oi with the Poodles. I say it in real life and people look at me like I'm crazy, except for like the two people who wander around who hear me and go, "Oh, Gilmore Girls." Oi with the Poodles. Oi with the Poodles. And I debated greatly about what Oi with the Poodles would look like, and I decided that Oi with the Poodles was thought up by Lorelai, and Lorelai is a Bangles fan, and the Bangles are from the 80s, so I wanted to look like a Bangle got caught in the rain, That's what Oi with the Poodles looks like to me. A bangle getting caught in the rain. So we have shades of blue. It's actually a bit of a tealy color, and then a luscious, almost electric shock of pinky purple throughout. And there's some of the tealy bit, mixed with a little bit of white. Oi with the Poodles. Oi with the Poodles. It's like a poodle puddle, a puddle poodle, mixed with the 80s. But it does look like a bangle got caught in the rain in this. It's like, oh look, the 80s called and they want their bangles back. So, Oi with the Poodles will be in every base. Because who doesn't want Oi with the Poodles? I want Oi with the Poodles. I may have to keep one. Oi with the Poodles. And the shocks of pink are not enough that they are, annoying for us less likers of pink. They really do purple out, and I believe that it would give a great heathered look. And I think barber pulling would be nice. But there are several different shades of blue, and a purple, and a pink, and a teal, and of course white. So, Oi with the Poodles. Those will all go up at 1 o'clock on Tuesday. 1 o'clock on Tuesday, Central Time. So if you like the Gilmore Girls and you're spinning for Tour de Fleece, you should get it. Because it'll probably get to you in time. If you live in the United States, it'll get to you in time. If you live in one of the many other countries I ship to, I don't know how long it'll take. Norway is pretty fast, actually. The UK takes a shit ton, and still waiting to hear from Japan. So, Austria and France, too. Those ones are pretty much on par with the UK. New Zealand, classic New Zealand time, and I haven't shipped anything to Australia. So there you have it. I'm doing a lot of international sales. Canada takes about 2 weeks. There's no way around it. Canada takes about 2 weeks. Gets held up at the border. So, last on our list, aside from reminding you that you need to go and decide on Sam or Frodo, and you can go and put inspirational pictures, because I'll be drawing from that pool of pictures in the Knitter's Nightmare group on Ravelry. I will be drawing for that. I will be pulling from that for the next fiber update. So someone will win. And of course they stack, so I can go backwards, I can go forwards, so just post whatever pictures you want. It's anything that you find inspirational. And of course, join the Knitter's Nightmare group, join the Carnivore group, join every group. Play around, have fun. Our music this week is inspired by the fact that I was like, cello! Cello! Last week we recommended Apocalyptica, which is a great cello band. Another great cello band, Rasputina. This is O Perilous World. Thanks for the Ether. Remains my favorite, but I had this one laying around and I could actually bring it. It is the Women's Cellist Society, or something like that they call themselves. Basically, Melora Krieger is the main cellist, singer, and then other cellists who are women join her. They dress in period clothing, early 19th century in general, period clothing, and they cello out. So if you dig the cello, and you dig morose, and you dig weird and fascinating, then I recommend checking out Rasputina. I'll put some of their clips in the blog, of course. I think that is pretty much everything I've had to say this week. I am Blue Ruin on Ravelry. We shoot stars on Plurk, Sadie Ruin on Twitter, Sadie Ruin on Instagram. Show notes will be at the blog, which is http://www.sadieruin.wordpress.com. And Knitter's Nightmare, where the updates can be found, is www.knittersnightmare.com. Or you can just go to, it's on Big Cartel. I think you can go to Big Cartel and find your way there. I want to thank everyone for the second sellout of Stripey Socks. That was awesome. And I have a couple special orders, but I need to find out who special ordered Ducky and Andy, because I can't remember. So if you special ordered Ducky and Andy, you should tell me. Aside from that, I will see you next week. Happy knitting and spinning, and I hope everyone is safe where they are, given the weather and the way it's been.